Yo, I just kind of wanted to get on here tonight and share with y'all something I learned from reading Psalm 13, because I'm reading Psalm 13 because it's one of those seasons, it's one of those seasons. But I was reading Psalm 13, and what really stuck out to me was verse 5. Obviously, besides verses 5 and 6, David is crying out. He's telling God that he feels like he's all alone. It feels like there's sorrow in his heart. If God doesn't encourage him, in verse 3, he says that if God doesn't encourage him, he feels like he will die. He feels like he's gonna die, bro. If God doesn't if God doesn't reassure him that he's there, it feels like he's gonna die. If God doesn't reassure him, if God doesn't do something, he feels like the enemy has prevailed over him. The enemy has power over him. He's saying a lot of things in how he feels. He even says that it feels like, in verse 1, how long will you hide your face from me? How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? David is saying it feels like God isn't even there. And if God doesn't reassure him that he is there, it feels like he's going to die. It feels like his enemy will have power over him. It feels like his enemies will rejoice because he is shaken. But what really stuck out to me is verse 5. How David says, even after saying all of these things, how he feels, he says, "But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation." And why this really stuck out to me is because David literally just said, it feels like he's going to die, right? But then he says, but even though that's how I feel, I still trust in your steadfast love. I still trust in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. So what is David saying here? Even though it feels like God isn't there, he's forgotten about David. It feels like he's all alone. Even though David is feeling all of these things, David is saying, but I have trusted in your steadfast love. In other words, I think that I have an expectation that you're always going to be there to help me, right? I have trusted in your steadfast love. That's what love is somebody is you having a desire to meet the needs of others, you caring for others' needs. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. David is saying, I have an expectation that you're always going to be there to help me. You're always going to help me. And since I think that you're always going to help me, right? That's what that verse is saying. I think that you're always going to be there to help me. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. Since you're always going to be there to help me, I will be happy because you're going to help me. And because salvation, when we think of it nowadays, we think of eternal life, right? But in the Old Testament, salvation can mean either eternal life or like deliverance. You being taken out of a situation, God saving you out of a situation. So that's what David is saying. I think that you are always going to be there to help me. And since you're always going to be there to help me, I will be happy because you're going to help me. Is that not like, that's like a definition of faith right there. Even before, mind you, David still feels all of these things. He still has all of these feelings that he's all alone. And even though he feels all of those things, he says, my heart shall rejoice in your salvation. David is saying, even though God hasn't taken him out of this situation yet, he's saying that he's going to be happy when, not if, when God takes him out of this situation. So I think that's just something we can follow, Like, I love how David, in these Psalms, when he's crying out to God, he's telling God how he feels, like, how long, oh Lord? what I like about David is he tells God how he feels. You see in Psalm 22, he goes back and forth. He tells God how he feels, and then he goes and remembers God's faithfulness. He goes back to how he feels. He's telling God how he feels. He remembers God's faithfulness. And I think that is really important when we're suffering, when we're going through trials and tribulations, is remembering God's faithfulness, remembering what God has done for us, what he has done in here and for us. So I hope this helped you guys. I think we should be like David. I think we should think that God is always going to be there to help us. And since he's always going to be there to help us, we can be happy. It says in, I think it's 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, rejoice in the Lord always, or rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. In all circumstances, give thanks. We can be happy because God is always going to be there. And since he's always going to be there, he's going to help us. And we can be happy that he's going to help us, that he's going to bring us out of these situations. So I hope this helped you guys. And I pray that you trust in God's steadfast love as well. Have a good night. Bless you guys.